Hellmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Hellmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
The first Thanksgiving, 1621. That's an oil painting by a man named Ferris. Perhaps he had a day off, or several days off around Thanksgiving. But that, of course, shows the original Thanksgiving in 1621. It was organized by William Bradford and the English colonists at Plymouth, Massachusetts, and they invited 90 of their friends, 90 or so members of the Wampanoag tribe for a 3-day fall feast. In addition to all manner of fowl, ducks, geese, turkeys, there was also seafood, plenty of it. In fact, the first Thanksgiving dinner consisted mainly of seafood. Think mussels, easily accessible at the time, clams, and oysters. I think about that first English colonist who must have dug into a clam saying, I don't know, man, I guess I'll eat it. And of course, striped bass. As Bradford himself described, quote, they began now to gather in the small harvest they had and to fit up their houses and dwellings against winter, being all well recovered in health and strength, and had all things in good plenty. For as some were thus employed in affairs abroad, others were exercised in fishing, about cod and bass and other fish, of which they took in good store, of which every family had their portion. I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman Magazine. We're coming to you a day early this week, Wednesday, November 27th, to give you more time to prepare and enjoy the time with family, friends, football, the feast, and of course, fishing on this uniquely American holiday. Now, by the time you're watching this, I will have transitioned from this to the afternoon session, my traditional Wednesday evening session right before Thanksgiving. And stiff westerlies in the early day forecast for Wednesday. We'll kind of transition, lay down a bit, and hopefully the bunker are nosing up against the wind, and those striped bass are piling on those bunker right in here along the beaches. Keep your eyes out. I haven't found any this morning right now, but I'm sure hoping that it's going to blow up right behind me. We do have some rain in the forecast for Thanksgiving, southeasterlies. It might be a little uncomfortable. It might be the day that you say, no, family, I'm going to stay home this Thanksgiving. No fishing for me today because it's all about you. Knowing full well that you have another few days of offshore winds. A little chillier in the forecast this Thanksgiving weekend, so pack your gloves and pack your hand warmers. But if you do believe, as I believe, that west is the best this time of year, bunker nosing up against the wind, bass on the beach, well, this weekend looks pretty tasty. As I've been reporting for several weeks now, if you're hitting the beaches, especially Island Beach all the way up to Sandy Hook, you need to be prepared for several different baits. Often it's sand eels at dawn and dusk, bunker, or even rainfish in between. So first light this past Sunday morning, I bumped into the Grumpy's crew, Scotty Thomas and Lizzie Rebus at a local bar. Lizzie had a teaser and an Ava as the fish started pushing a little farther outside as the sun started creeping up into the sky. But sometimes they're there at your feet. They were at first light. That's when the Bill Hurleys or the Tsunami sand eel imitations, I think, are the best. But even at low water, tide just coming in with the offshore wind Sunday morning, the bunker may press in tight. You may find them at your feet. I have found pockets of peanuts here along this stretch today, just no bass on them just yet. But I tend to think as the tide comes in, filling in those pockets and holes and coming across the bar, that eventually those stripers are going to find them. I know a lot of hardcore surfcasters hate the crowds, but it really makes me happy to see so many folks on the beaches enjoying this incredible fishery. Remember, often you're going shoulder to shoulder and chasing these blitzes, so you need to have patience and expect a few tangles, so have courtesy and respect. That's the order of the day. It's all about respect.
Oh, no way, really?
Respect for the fish, respect for the fishery, and respect for your fellow fishermen. And if you can't play nice, then this Thanksgiving weekend, especially along the northern stretch beaches north of LBI, Wreck Inlet, Brigantine perhaps, if you're not a people person, this may not be the stretch for you. But if you want to introduce some new folks to an incredible visual fishery, this is the time to do it, especially as the family's around for the weekend. I was driving around on Sunday my buddy, my coworker, John DeBona, looking to put his grandson Nico into his first ever striper. Took a while, but success was had, and not within the crowded picket fences. We actually got away from the crowds and still found the bass piling on bunker. Had our own little flurry, swim shads, poppers, slot fish on the peanuts, and Nico was popping up his first ever striper, and in the surf to boot. I think that's fantastic. Periodic blitzes from Central Jersey all the way to Sandy Hook all this week. Yes, even when the wind wasn't necessarily lapping lightly against the back of our necks. Dennis Porter-Layton said he and his buddy Steve had a pretty good day. A quick flurry, definitely a sand eel bite in Sandy Hook. It doesn't look comfortable, but those fish are there. I expect we'll still see another body of fish too coming across from the south shore of Long Island, because the reports are still coming in from that stretch as well. So hopefully a few more good fish come in for the Jersey Shore in the December run. Mixed in with the stripers are some bluefin tuna. Now, Bev Osborne Gallant, she's the granddaughter of Captain Les Osborne of the Super Chick, the Little Chick, and the Slick Chick. She was 15 miles out at the ridge aboard Great Life, captained by her husband Kevin, and hit this 62-inch, 162-pound bluefin. Now, the reports I'm getting from that stretch, 12 to 15 miles out, Barnegat Ridge, Manasquan Ridge, all those ridges and lumps where folks are heading out for bluefin, I'm hearing reports of acres and acres of striped bass, 30 and 40 pounders, rolling on the surface and pinning up pockets of sand eels. Sure would be nice if those fish would push a little farther to the west. But I'll tell you what, for sure, some of those bluefin are doing just that, sliding to the west. Incredible video footage from last week just off Ortley Beach, Ocean County. A bluefin tuna busting out on top. Right time, right place for Michael Quinn and crew. Tasty sushi just outside the breakers. Are these birds working? Should I quit right now? Should I come back? No, we'll continue this. But I'll tell you, if you're looking for some tips on holiday bluefin tuna from now all the way through December, pick up that December edition of the Fisherman Magazine on newsstands and in tackle shops right now. That's the one with the brilliant Northern Lights image on the cover from photographer Paul Rosala. Cool shot. Very cool. Turn to the table of contents, though. The latest on the striped bass management mess at the ASMFC, I wrote that up. Nick Honicheski takes us on a November into December headboat tour. Our Pocono Outdoors guy has some winter walleye advice. Angelo Paluzzo, the Feast of the Seven Fishes. Perfect for your Christmas holiday traditions. And of course, page 22, Captain Jim Frieda. He spotlights those late fall into winter bluefin and how to get on them. Of course, yes, this is our holiday gift guide issue. More than 60 different gifts inside. Dog ear those pages that you like. Leave them all around the house as hints on what you want for the holidays. Christmas is fast approaching, and Hanukkah comes a little bit late this year. It kicks off on Christmas Day and goes into January 2nd. So for folks like me, that gives me a little bit of time celebrating both holidays. Gifts? I got gifts for you. The Fisherman Magazine has a line of apparel, hats, sweatshirts, hoodies, t-shirts, cuffed beanies like the one I'm wearing. It's all online at thefisherman.com, and there's free shipping for orders over $100. It's a perfect gift for yourself or for loved ones. I would tell you, camo trucker hats are as popular now with a 20-something crowd as they are with old truckers. An old trucker just drove by me, screaming along the beach, Scotty Lex. If he's going that way, maybe I should be going that way as well. We're going to slide down into South Jersey in just a couple of minutes. But there's another 20-something that I know who has a great tip this week. You remember the old term, carry in, carry out? Yeah, well, some folks apparently do not. So it's up to the rest of us, by beach or by boat, to do our part to cover for and occasionally clean up after the slobs of the world, because if we want a better environment and we want to retain this access, sometimes we got to clean up the garbage left behind by others, just as Jenni says.
What's up, open boaters? Today I have a different surfcaster, not even just surfcasters, but boat fishermen too, a challenge for you. It's a bit of an eco challenge. So I know a lot of guys, specifically for the fall run, you're hitting the beach a lot. Like, I made countless trips last fall from now through almost the new year. And I see a lot of trash. And we don't have Bob the garbage man around to pick up that trash, so I'm challenging you surf casters for every single trip you make to the beach, pick up a piece of trash that you see. Every beach has garbage cans at the entry point. So you see it, pick it up and put it in the trash. If you don't have a garbage at your entry points, put it in your truck, just like your Wawa wrappers. And even for boat fishermen too. If you see trash floating out there, either net it or gaff it, put it in your boat with the garbage bucket and dish it out at the dock. We want to be the change that you want to see. That's my favorite quote. Be the change you want to see. Pick up garbage. Don't leave garbage on the beach or in the ocean. Keep it clean so we have excellent fishing for years to come. I'd rather be catching striped bass than plastic bags. So go ahead and do this challenge this fall run season and every single time you go fishing. I'll catch you guys on next week's Open Boat.
The season of giving is here. Why not share the gift of fishing that lasts all year long? A subscription to the Fisherman Magazine is just that. 12 glossy print issues and 26 weekly digital issues delivered to your inbox. The best writers in the Northeast will share their knowledge that will help you sharpen your skills. Plus weekly reports and full access to the website, all for $29.95. And you're automatically eligible for the Dreamboat contest with your chance to win a new Steigercraft powered by Yamaha. Visit thefisherman.com/subscribe for that ultimate gift.
Now, until December 31st, Tsunami is giving away a Salt X waterproof backpack when you purchase a new Salt X2 reel. With its 19 seals and machined aluminum frame, the rugged Salt X2 can conquer any fishing condition you may face. Check out the QR code for all the details.
Earlier this week, I drove down into Cape May and Atlantic counties. I was visiting a few of the coastal tackle shops. We talked striped bass. We talked about the ASMFC hearing coming up in December. And I also wanted to get a better idea of what's going on down there, because it is so quiet. If you've ever been to Cape May this time of year, it gets very, very quiet. Well, Nick at Hands 2 Bait and Tackle, he said folks are still hopeful down there for the stripers to arrive in December. And typically they have a fantastic bite going into January. There's just nobody around to enjoy it. And the problem is, so many of the marinas say you got to be out by December 1st, so you got to move your boat, and next thing you know, all the stripers arrive, and you have no place to keep your boat. But Nick did say that right now, and it has been for a while, the jetty tog fishing has been completely off the hook. Fantastic. Green crabs are moving in and out of the shop at a real fast pace. A bit farther to the north, I stopped in to see Mike at Sea Isle Bait and Tackle and Billy over at Fanatics in Ocean City. Both of those guys told me the back bay striper fishing is very good right now in the bays and rivers and estuaries. Seems that soft plastics are getting the job done. I wouldn't be surprised too if you might want to try some of those smaller poppers. We'll talk about the Yazuri 3D Inshore, the small one, or the Tsunami Coastal iPops, any of those little walk the dog style spooks. I think dawn and dusk, especially from the jetty rocks or back along the sod banks, I do think that will get the job done. David Absecon Bay Sportsman Center, in addition to the shop, stopped in to see him, but he's also running charters in the back of Absecon Bay and behind Atlantic City. He's been putting his charters on a bunch of outback stripers. He uses a lot of the soft baits. He loves the Gulp Nemesis, but of course, if you know Dave, he's also live line and spot quite a bit. This is a good reminder too, this image that's on the screen right now with Natalina here and her very first striper. Boats under 26 feet, anglers need to be wearing those PFDs when underway in the Garden State, back bay or out front. You're on a boat 26 feet or less, you gotta have that PFD. It's in place now until May 1st. A little farther to the north, I spoke to Noel at One Stop Bait and Tackle. He too, similar to Nick down in Cape May, he said the jetty tog fishing is fantastic. Some of the guys he's spoken to have been doing this for 40 or 50 years or more, say it's the best jetty tog bite that they have ever seen. It's that good right now. How this upcoming cold snap will affect that as the water temperatures start to drop a little bit, I wonder if these tog will start to migrate out to the inshore snags and wrecks. But right now, I know the boats that are running out of these inlets looking to score offshore on tog, they're hopeful that it is. So take advantage of that jetty tog bite now, back bay as well, along the bridges perhaps, and the canal too. Open beach stripers in South Jersey? Yeah, actually there are. I said things will heat up as temperatures drop in December into January. But Sean Irvin told me on Tuesday of this week that the fall run is alive and well in Wildwood. Stripers caught right in front of the convention center. That's where the upcoming Wildwood Fishing and Boating Expo will be held in early January. As I recall from 2024, the very beginning of this year, that week there was a blitz in Wildwood the week of that show. So mark that down. Sunday, of course, is December 1st, which means just 1 month for catching black sea bass before the regulatory window closes on December 31st. The good news, I mentioned it earlier, I do believe, I don't see any reason why not, that we're just going to have the same sea bass regulations as we had this year. We'll have them again in 2025. There was talk about a cutback, but no. The problem is black sea bass will close after the 31st. You want to get on them right now. Head boats like the Jamaica 2 out of Brielle, they're pressing east for those sea bass. They're also finding some cod in the mix as well. Fishery that will also remain in play heading into January. That's cod, also porgies, and hopefully this winter it's a ling thing, because a lot of folks like to stock up for ling during the winter months. For more on the head boat selections in late fall and into winter, go to page 28 of the December edition of the Fisherman Magazine, that New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition. Nick's Holiday Party, a head boat potpourri, Nick Konacheski. You'll also find not just that article, but a full lineup in the report section of all the boats up and down the coast, when they're sailing and what they're sailing for throughout the month of December, probably some of them into January as well, in those inshore and offshore snags, reefs, and wrecks. The Fisherman Magazine's Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. I've been reminding folks to try to bring in one of these jumbo black sea bass to weigh in on the tournament, but it's wrapping up this weekend, November. It all ends. And then we got to start compiling all the data. So you only have this weekend to catch that tournament-winning fish. You know the deal. Subscribe, fish, land a big fish, enter it at a tackle shop, and hopefully earn points on your way to a brand new Steiger Yamaha Humminbird Minn Kota prize package. Could be yours come splashdown in 2025.
And now the Dream Boat Fishing Challenge entries for the week. November 30th is getting very close, and we had one new weigh-in. Jeffrey Harrison from Middletown, Connecticut, landed this 11.09 pound tog, placing him in first for the blackfish category, knocking down Kyle Kraus and Scott Waterman 1 point each. But the order on the leaderboard stays the same. Ahmed Solomon has 19 points. Scott Waterman has 23 points. Kyle Kraus has 35 points. There were no new weigh-ins this week in the Coastal Kayak Clash, and time is running out. Can Bob Wagner land a bigger tog than Justin Oser before the contest ends? We will see. The leaderboard looks like this. Todd Treones has 4 points. Bob Wagner has 9 points, right behind our leader, Justin Oser, with 10 points.
Wet stuff falling from the sky this week. Who knew we'd be so excited to see rain? It's had an impact on water levels, lakes, streams, reservoirs throughout New Jersey, throughout the entire region, out in Pennsylvania as well. For our weekly freshwater update, let's check in with George Schauer, our Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. Kind of windy out here today on top of the mountain. Winds are really whipping around. But that's kind of, tough for the guys out fishing small boats and kayaks. It's really tough to maneuver that boat around dealing with the wind when you're trying to get in do some precision fishing. But I'll tell you what, things may be improving. We do it once we get past this weekend, that is. I think we got a little bit of rain and possibly some snow up here in the elevation, so we'll see how that pans out. Past few days have been tough, especially with the wind, but we did have a few guys check in getting on some fish, some diehards. Sam Martucci, he was down in Beltsville, and it's good to see Beltsville starting to bounce back a little bit. He got in some stripers, some schoolies, but it was a good bite. Good to see that happening. They did plug Beltsville, and they're stopping the drawdown. So waters are about 10 feet low, but at least it's not draining anymore. Good to see there. We had Rich Griffin check in. He was out getting some brook trout here in the Albrightsville area. Some good cold water fish there. Also in the trout, we had Eric Gutstall down on the Broadhead Creek getting into some really nice browns. Probably more aggressive of the trout family, so some good fish in there as well. I know there's a lot coming up. We said we got the rain and snow this weekend. We'll see how things go. A lot of guys might be out hitting the woods. No matter what you're doing, guys, have a great Thanksgiving. And whether you're in the woods or in the water, go get on them. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
I mentioned it before, the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission is making a big decision on striped bass come December 16th. And yeah, they're talking about changing the regulations next year. Next Thursday, December 5th, we'll get our first indication of what it could look like in terms of any management changes for 2025. And then we'll be talking more about this in the coming weeks, because December 16th is that meeting. Next week we find out some of the options, and then there's a public comment portion that is due. Your public comments are due on December 10th. You can find all the information at thefisherman.com. We sent a news item about that earlier this week. Just go to thefisherman.com, find Dave Anderson's piece all about that decision. Suffice to say, the data the managers are using say there's way too many of us fishing for striped bass. Oh my God, when it's this good, what would you expect? Oh, there's too many stripers out here. Don't fish for them anymore. Some people are absolutely nuts. I don't know what folks expect. But I'll tell you, I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. It is the perfect opportunity to get new people into this fishery. Your Aunt Judy, she's never caught striper, bring her up to the beach this weekend. Or bring the kids. My buddy Nick forwarded this shot to me this week. Must be all the folks fishing on the headboats that are leading to all this striper madness, right? Because it's certainly not the thousands of people lined up along the beach of Ocean and Monmouth County. Again, introduce someone to fishing. There's plenty of people up here, and there's plenty of opportunities to get yourself away from the crowds. I'm sure I could pick a couple of fish here right now if I tried. But if you want to follow the crowds, you can do that. Nick Pileggi got the next generation into the mix. Had his youngest son, Holden, on his very first striper. 33 inches. 33 incher from Lavalette on an Ava 27 with a sand eel imitation teaser. So yeah, that's just easy casting and retrieving So that's a great thing to do. Now, Nick said he and his son made the hour-and-a-half drive in from Bucks County over the weekend. Got his son Holden in the car, 4 a.m. They were on the beach at 6 a.m. Nick said, quote, "He loves it. Constantly asks me on Friday night if we're going fishing. And of course, I can't let the young man down. So we burn gas and hunt bass." I love that. Burn gas and hunt bass. I think I'm going to get that on a t-shirt sometime. 9 years ago, on the pages of the Fisherman Magazine, I wrote an editorial. It was called Stars and Stripers. And it detailed the reason why I believe that the striped bass should forever be considered our national fish. Resilient, perseverance, just like our pilgrims and early settlers going back to Thanksgiving 1621. The westward expansion of Americans as Americans moved west, so too did the striped bass. 1800s, fingerling stripers were put on a train car from the Navesink River and shipped out to San Francisco Bay. The nation's first public school was funded on a tax on striped bass. And legend has it that George Washington himself, trying to settle the difference between Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton, took those two guys out on a striped bass fishing trip. That's the way politics should be. On this uniquely American holiday, I ask that you enjoy every moment you can with your family, give thanks to friends and loved ones, but don't forget the connection between fish and Thanksgiving. If anybody gives you grief, you say it's part of the Thanksgiving tradition. It's a beautiful image from the Fisherman staff artist Savio Mizzi, celebrating America's fish. And it may get a little crowded out there. Certainly going to be crowded along this stretch this weekend, I'm sure of it. But let's give thanks to the reason why. Because there's a bounty of stripers moving down the beaches, and hopefully there's more of them to come from the South Shore of Long Island. A few folks in Atlantic County and Cape May County, I hope you get the mix as well soon enough. Catch them up. I'll see you on the beach. Have a wonderful holiday weekend.
Tautog! Battle 4.